Hey everyone. A couple days ago, I finished watching the next episode of Lightspeed Rescue, Trakeena's Revenge. Now, this was something I was kind of looking forward to, kind of dreading rewatching, because it's a team up episode with Lost Galaxy, and team up episodes are always a weird thing with Power Rangers. They're the type of thing that sometimes you think, like, wow, that's gonna be cool, and other times you're like, man, this is gonna be a drag. Let's see. The first Power Rangers big team up thing was in Let's see. Well, actually, I kind of count Return of the Green Ranger, where there's a clone of Tommy made, and he has the Green Ranger powers, and you get to see the White and Green Rangers fight together, in a fight with each other, and then later team up against was it the Rat Monsters or something, and I always thought that was so cool to see. These two different rangers who, or actually, it's the same ranger technically, just two different iterations or two different costumes or whatever. Anyway, the next real team up we had was with Masked Rider, his introduction, and A Friend in Need, and then there was what was it? Oh, yeah, in Zeo, actually in Zeo was kind of weird because the Alien Rangers they would show up throughout the season here and there, but then they have a big thing where all the Alien Rangers show up in Rangers of Two Worlds. That was it, and it was a really cool thing. I remember being a kid and just being blown away by that. I thought that was so cool to see a whole team of Rangers come back. And let's see, Turbo didn't really do that. We got that kind of in the Turbo movie. Jason and Kimberly are back, but Jason wasn't really that special because he was already back in Zeo. Kimberly was it's cool to see her, but she doesn't really do a whole lot in the movie. Her or Jason, they're just kind of wasted. And then the rest of Turbo, there's not really any big team up episodes. Let's see, I do remember there being rumors about Robot Ranger. I'll talk about that in another video. And in space, we had a couple of team up episodes. There was the one with the Ninja Turtles really early on. That was weird. And then we got the one with Justin coming back. We got Adam coming back, and they all morph. So that was cool. The turtles don't morph. Adam and Justin do. And let's see. The trying to remember. Yeah, I think that was it. Oh, and then the last episode, Countdown Destruction, it had appearances by a few other Rangers. Phantom Ranger and Trey, they show up. Lost Galaxy had a big team up with a bunch of the In Space Rangers. And there was a weird thing there that ties in with Trakeena's Revenge, I'm gonna talk about. In To the 10th Power, the team up from Lost Galaxy, the Space Rangers come back, but there's no Zane. Why isn't Zane there? There's no explanation for why Zane isn't there, and that always bugged me. I could never figure it out. And in Trakeena's Revenge, there's a similar thing, but I'll talk about that when I get to it. So, yeah, let's talk about Trakeena's Revenge. When I was a kid, I didn't really know what to think of this episode, because Lost Galaxy, I hadn't seen much of. I had started school a while before, so I wasn't watching Power Rangers every day. I had kind of fallen out of it. I watched In Space and Lost Galaxy a bit here and there, but for the most part, I hadn't seen much of it enough to really get invested with the characters. With Lightspeed, I was watching it more, and I was more invested in the characters. So as a kid, it didn't really bother me that much that the Lost Galaxy Rangers didn't get a bigger role in this episode, but as an adult, it's really irritating that they wasted this big opportunity for no reason, basically. Let's see, there's a few interesting things. The Previously On segment at the beginning, I don't usually talk about it because it's usually just generic, but the weird thing with the Previously On segment, it focuses exclusively on Diabolico coming back to life, which is really strange because he's not in this episode. He has absolutely nothing to do with this episode. Olympius shows up in this episode for a few seconds, but no Diabolico. I don't think Lokai, Vipra, yeah, Lokai and Vipra, they're not there either. Banshira is mentioned, she's part of the reason why Olympius teams up with Trakeena in this episode. So let's see. Oh yeah, the beginning is actually kind of cool and atmospheric. It starts off, we see Miranoi, the stone with the quasar sabers in it, and it's raining. There's a downpour, and then you see Leo pull the sword out of the stone, go galactic, and then morphs, and it's really cool. And then these creatures jump up and start attacking him. He's fighting them off, and then there's this horned monster that shows up. And what was his name? Triskull. I'm just gonna call him Triskull. In my notes, I called him Horned Monster because I don't know what else to call him. He doesn't say his name until way at the end. So anyway, him and the creatures, ghouls, that's what they're called later, they turn into lights and shoot up in the sky. Huh, just like Legendary Battle. Whatever. And then, and then there's a weird thing that becomes really apparent. Now, as a kid, this didn't really like occur to me, or I didn't really think about it that much because, like, again, I hadn't watched a lot of Lost Galaxy. I wasn't that invested in it. I didn't really know the characters that well. So when Leo has his line here, it sounds nothing like Leo. It's a dubbed voice because apparently behind the scenes there were some issues, and Danny Slavin, who plays Leo, left. I've heard conflicting reports about like the actors who left in this episode. Like some things on Ranger Wiki, it says it was pay disputes. Other things say it was script issues, like they wanted a bigger part. When they weren't given a bigger part, they refused to come back for ADR. Amy Miller, who played Trakeena, wouldn't come back at all. So yeah, it's like even like behind the scenes, it's really depressing that they couldn't show more respect to the season that had really elevated Power Rangers to a new place. Like Lost Galaxy was really important for Power Rangers because like it really showed that the series was maturing along with its audience, and I thought that was really cool. That people who were kids back when Mighty Morphin aired, by the time you get to In Space Lost Galaxy, those kids are either like older kids, they're tweens, or they're teens. Or if they started watching in their teens, they're adults. And the show, like, grew up with them, and you can still watch it, and it's not really cringy. It's not like now, where a kid who grew up with, I don't know, Samurai or Megaforce is a teenager now, and we're not too far off from like Megaforce's quality. Like we're still getting like, and I like Dino Fury. It's fine. It's not going anywhere. We're kind of stuck in this weird, like extremely juvenile way of doing the show. Whereas back then, it felt like it was really maturing and becoming more than what it was. So anyway, I guess it's up to opinion and taste whether or not that's a good thing. If you like silly, maybe you prefer it to stay like Megaforce and be silly, so whatever. Anyway, back to the actual Trakeena's Revenge episode. Let's see, I'm looking at my notes here. Oh yeah, this thing. There's this little girl, Heather, and for some bizarre reason, she is the main focus of everything here. I don't know why. She's the driving force of everything. She's in nearly every scene. It reminds me a lot of that girl who hung around Carlos for a while. What was her name? Back in Space, she like found out his name, or she found out that he was a ranger. Sylvia, that was her name, or Sylvie, whatever. She was really annoying. A lot of fans don't like her. They don't really like the purpose she serves. She was just kind of annoying. She could have easily been replaced with somebody else, and that's kind of what I felt like here. Like, they could have used someone else. They didn't have to focus on this little girl the whole time. But there's some weird behind the scenes stuff with this episode. Like, this whole episode was partially made to be a tie-in, or to be a promotion for McDonald's. Yeah. Like, McDonald's wanted to do Power Ranger toys, and also they were going to put out a Power Rangers tape, and that turned into Power Rangers 3D, and had these two Trakeena's Revenge episodes edited together into a movie. So I'm wondering, like, how much of this episode had, like, people from McDonald's or commercial people's input. Like, did they say that we have to have a little kid in the thing, and she has to have, like, or they have to have this much screen time, they have to do this or that, and this or that has to happen. We have to have, like, this and that happen, and specifically. So I'm not sure how much of this episode can be blamed on the writers for not taking advantage of the opportunity of getting old actors back. They might have been, like, stuck and they didn't have a choice. That's very possible. So yeah, back to the episode. Heather is playing hide and seek with her mother, and here's the weird thing: I do like Heather. Like, she's cute and all, and she's fine. I do like her better than Sylvie. She's not, like, written really annoying. The really annoying thing with Heather isn't so much her character, it's that she's taking screen time away from the Rangers. Like, even if this was a normal episode, I would think this is really strange to put this much focus on a little kid character who isn't even, like, a main cast member or anything. Like, I was thinking in Wild Force we had Kite. Imagine if they did something like this for Wild Force and they had Kite play a really big role in it. It'd be kind of weird, but it'd make sense. I don't like Kite either. Yeah, anyway, so that would have, like, made more sense. Like, if Wild Force had done a thing and Kite was a main character, or, like, if SPD had done a special with little kid Sam as a main character, I would get it. It would make sense. But for this, to give so much focus to this little girl who ultimately doesn't really mean anything to the series as a whole, very weird. Because she's not particularly interesting. Like, she's cute and she serves the purpose of the episode, and that's about all you can say about her. And, let's see. See, there's a burning building. Oh, and then there's a thing I never really thought about before. There's a burning building. The Rangers go to put out the fire, rescue the people. Joel flies by in his helicopter thing, whatever, Zord. Was it his Zord? I don't remember. He drops water bombs on the building. That's a cool idea. Probably ruins the interior of the building, though, dropping water bombs on it. Anyway, then he drops a bunch of flyers down advertising his Sky Cowboy air show. And then he lands and he's signing autographs for everybody. So, I don't know why they wanted to establish Joel's character so well, but we know exactly who he is and what kind of person he is from what he says and does there. He doesn't really play a part in the rest of the episode, but alright, whatever. I'm wondering if maybe that was, like, a thing. Did McDonald's say that you have to have a focus on the Green Ranger? Maybe because they were thinking of Tommy or something. So, let's see. Oh, yeah, there's, I'm going through my notes here. Heather and her mother go to this building. Oh, and Ranger Wiki point out a weird thing. They go to the 13th floor, and Ranger Wiki says that buildings don't have 13th floors. And I was like, well, what if there's a 13th floor? If there's a floor above a 12th floor, it's 13. So I looked it up, and this ticked me off. I found out that superstitions are so prevalent that buildings will actually have, like, 12A, 12B, 14. It's 13. It doesn't matter if you call it something different, it's still the 13th floor. That's so stupid. I don't know. I don't know why that ticked me off so much, but it did. It was so... I didn't know that would make me so mad. Anyway, back to the... I keep saying anyway. I am trying to stop that, really. So yeah, back to the episode. Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. The monsters that Leo was fighting earlier, they grab Heather's mom. They drag her into this room, and she sees a bunch of weird equipment. And then there's all these little jars with tiny shrunken people inside. And then that horned monster, Tri-Skull, shows up. And then, blah, 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 blah. Oh yeah, the mother is shrunken down. She's put in the jar. He tells the monsters to begin draining the energy from the people. And then we hear a familiar laugh from the shadows. And we see a silhouette of a hand with fingernails like claws. And then there's a voice that is not familiar. Like, the laugh does sound like Trakeena. The voice does not at all. And I'm wondering, did they use, like, a stock laugh? Or was the woman just really good at doing a Trakeena laugh, but not the voice? Yeah, whatever. Where am I in my notes here? Oh, yeah, the see, Triskull goes after the... Oh, yeah, and he transforms into a human. Triskull turns human to get the little girl, and when he turns human, for some reason I thought he looks a lot like Philip Seymour Hoffman for some reason. I don't know why that popped into my head, but I was like, yeah, it looks like a lot like him. And I kept thinking of Brant, his character from Big Lebowski. So now I'm thinking of Triskull quoting lines from Brant. That's funny. We did not think of that, dude. Alright, back to the episode. Oh, and then there is this scene. This scene is freaking awesome and stupid and just makes no sense. I could do a whole rant about this thing, like, in its own video. Heather goes to this receptionist downstairs, and she's like, a monster kidnapped my mother, and then the receptionist says, and now you know, dear, there's no such thing as monsters. What? Like, this kind of line would only work in a pilot episode where there are no previously established Power Ranger teams. This was a team up. And even if this wasn't a team up, this is episode, 30 something of Lightspeed Rescue? There's been over 20 episodes of monsters attacking the city consistently. And it's not like the news tries to cover it up or anything. The news, covers everything. The Lightspeed Rangers don't have secret identities. They're a military operation. Their base is right there. They were driving their car through town earlier and Heather recognized them. Oh, and Olympius is there, implying that this does indeed take place at this point in time when Impus is grown up and he's Olympius. The opening previously on implies this is after Diabolica was resurrected. So the previous bunch of episodes happened. They must have happened. And then there's the whole thing with Lost Galaxy is coming back. And later in this episode, Leo is going to tell them about a flashback where they're fighting Trakeena, and Trakeena turns into a monster. Like, Earth knows about Terraventure, the giant space colony that the Galaxy Rangers were from. I remember reading about, Jonathan Zacher, one of the producers. He wanted Lightspeed to be separate from the previous seasons. He didn't want continuity to the previous seasons. There were originally going to be, ideas where they were going to have, scientists would find old Zords or destroyed Ranger powers and monsters, and they were going to study that, and that was where the Lightspeed powers were going to come from. But Zacher was like, no, we can't have continuity. It has to be like the Sentai, where each season is a clean break. So I don't know if maybe... I don't know. I was reading about, the McDonald's promotion thing was come up with really early on, and this was, one of the first episodes produced, which is one of the reasons why, Ryan isn't there, because I guess they didn't have the suit ready, or his actor wasn't available yet, or something. So I don't know if that has something to do with it. Maybe this wasn't originally intended to be a team-up. I don't know. Maybe it was, made as a pilot and then re-edited later to add in the team-up elements. Oh. I don't know. It's such a weird line. How would you even begin to think it's Power Rangers, and then you write a line that monsters aren't real? In Ninja Storm, there's a throwaway line about the Rangers being urban legends or comic book characters, and it, later they would retcon it away or explain it away as, yeah, Power Rangers were real the whole time, but at the moment, in context of that first episode of Ninja Storm, it made sense, because Ninja Storm really felt like it was a clean break from all the previous seasons. There'd be little bits of things later on that established that, yeah, previous seasons did happen to some extent, but at the moment, it made sense that this was its own thing. This... I don't even know where to begin with it. It doesn't make any sense at all, so... whatever. Going on in my notes. Wow, I wrote a lot for that whole thing. So yeah, I probably could do just a separate video talking about how much that line doesn't make any sense. This is gonna be a long video because I have a lot to say about this episode. So yeah, back to yeah, Triskull is disguised as Philip Seymour Hoffman. He goes up to Heather. I believe you, little girl. He's really creepy. Whoever the guy is who plays human Triskull is really creepy. I really like him. He's a cool guy. It gives me like Pineapple the Clown vibes. So he takes her by the hand. They go upstairs. They're in the elevator, and then the monsters ambush them. He grabs the girl, and then she fights them off with her kickball. Like she's whacking them, and like she throws the kickball at one, and then she gets away. And I always thought that was kind of weird. Like she fights off monsters with a kickball. What? I'm gonna guess that like when she threw the kickball and it bounced in the bad guys' faces, it just surprised them, and that was what allowed her to get away. Otherwise, this would be kind of silly. Oh yeah, and then there's a weird thing. The monster apparently just gives up chasing Heather and goes back to the room with Trakeena and Triskull and Olympius in there, and maybe he sent the ghouls after her. Who knows? Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, and we see Trakeena for the first time here, and she has this big metal mask over her face, so you can't see that it's not Amy Miller. Oh, and one of the weird things, Amy Miller was married to Reggie Roll. I think that's his name. Yeah, Reggie Roll, who played the Green Ranger Damon in Lost Galaxy. He's back in the next episode. So I'm wondering, were they married at this point? Were they regularly together? Or was that like after this? Because I don't know, it just seems weird that he'd come back, but she wouldn't. So I'm just imagining like them getting a letter from Saban or whoever saying, "Oh, you're invited back for a new Power Ranger thing," and he's like, "Oh, cool. Well, I'm gonna go back. I'm not. Okay, see you later, honey." I'd love to know how that how that went. Let's see. Blah blah blah. Oh yeah, let's see. Trakeena wants to use the energy from those shrunken people in the jars. Remember them? She wants to use them to restore her humanoid form. Okay. Oh, and also, I guess she's hoping she can restore her monster form, maybe? Who knows? Anyway, then Olympius exposits that he's gonna double cross her and use their energy for Banshira. Alright. And, oh yeah. By this point, we're halfway through the episode. Halfway. Only halfway. And what's happened? None of the Galaxy Rangers have appeared on Earth yet. We've seen Leo, but he's still on Miranoi in the rain. And anyway, it made me think about, like, that's one of the biggest problems with team-up episodes, is wasting time. Like, you have these old Rangers back, you're probably not going to get this chance again, and what do? They waste all their time following Heather around, throwing her kickball at the monsters. So much of the first half feels like it's completely unnecessary. We didn't need any of this. We could have already had the Galaxy Rangers here. But we gotta drag it out for some reason, I don't know why. So yeah, maybe I will start like just doing videos of talking about random other Power Ranger topics that I think of. Like that woman who says monsters don't exist. Team ups wasting time. Because they do. A lot. The last good, like really, really good team up was or actually in Dino Fury recently we had Mick come back and it was really good. He was given like a big role in the episode. They utilized him to great effect. It was probably the best episode of the first season of Dino Fury. And in Beast Morphers, the episode where the Dino Charge Rangers come back, that was a really cool episode. I liked it. What followed was really garbage, but that episode was good. So back to this. Let's see. Oh yeah, Heather. Let's see. She's escaped the building. She's outside crying, and I like this one scene here. partially. Carter comes over, he sees her crying. What's going on? Can't be that bad. And then she tells him that a monster kidnapped her mother, and for some reason Carter doesn't believe her. Man, they really needed the Power Rangers hotline back in here, so she could have just called them. Although prank calling was still a big thing in the 90s. I don't think prank calling is as big a thing now. So maybe it's safer now than it was back then. So, whatever. Anyway, I do like the scene until, like, Carter, like, just flat out doesn't believe her and he makes a face like... don't do that. Don't do that, Carter. It's weird. And then she's like, I knew you wouldn't believe me. And then Seymour Hoffman dude comes over, and she's like, that's him, that's the monster. And he goes, I came to return your ball. And I just love this guy. He's freaking awesome. And so anyway, Carter takes the ball. Children have such wild imaginations. And then he goes off, and Carter's like, I don't trust this guy. I do like this. So anyway, he tails this guy, and then Heather follows and then he lets her come for some reason. All right. So anyway, the other Rangers are driving around, and let's see, what are they doing? I can't remember what they're doing. They're driving in the car. Oh, and then there's a very Zachor-esque shot where they're coming up the road, and then we see someone standing in the road. The camera pulls up, and it's Leo leaning on his sword. The Rangers get out, and Kelsey recognizes him. I guess she watches the news, and let's see. He tells them about the ghouls. Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. I'm trying to. Where are my notes? Okay, there it is. Oh yeah, the ghouls show up. They scuffle with the Rangers. Oh, and then some ghouls show up and attack Carter and Heather. Oh, and then there's a scene. Heather hits one with her kickball, and it actually does hurt the ghoul. So I don't know. Maybe the ghouls are weak against rubber, like how the demons are weak against water. The monsters are all weak against certain elements or whatever. Oh, and then, let's see, blah, blah, blah. Maya and Kai from Lost Galaxy show up. They help Carter fight off the ghouls, and there's a weird bit where Carter looks at them and he says, "You're Lost Galaxy Rangers." And I thought that was kind of weird, because usually in universe, aren't they called just Galaxy Rangers? Like, why are they specifically Lost Galaxy? Like, in reality, in our world, yeah, it's Lost Galaxy. It's the name of the season. In context of the season, it doesn't always make sense, because the Lost Galaxy, the titular Lost Galaxy, is actually kind of a minor distraction from the rest of it. Mainly, they're just the Galaxy Rangers, but here he calls them Lost Galaxy, and I just thought that was an interesting thing. So anyway, they tell Carter about Trakeena. There's a flash. Oh yeah, and in the flashback, Leo and I think Trakeena are both dubbed over. So, like, is that like a thing in Power Rangers? Like, just that's a physics rule of the universe that when you think about the past, everyone has different voices. And if you have a recording of the past, everyone has different voices because science. Mm. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, Heather was, she fainted in that scuffle earlier. And so then later, when the Rangers are going back to fight the bad guys, Heather, she's in the Aqua Base, and she runs up to Carter, and she asks to come along, and this scene just goes on for way too long, and it makes me think they must have had a mandate or something saying, use Heather this long. Because this scene is so stupid and pointless, and then they take her along. What's she going to do? When they get down there to fight Triskull and the ghouls, she just sits in the car. Anyway, there's another really weird thing. When they show up to fight the monster, the Rangers morph, and then the Galaxy Rangers morph, and then very weirdly we see not the Lost Galaxy morphing sequence, we see the Ginga Man morphing sequence. What? Did they not have time to edit in the right morph? Like, it's obviously very different. Even as a kid who wasn't as familiar with Lost Galaxy as I am now, I still noticed that the morph was wrong. That it was a completely different morph. So anyway, Triskull he's beating the Rangers. He's got them all down. And then Heather's like, no. And all I could think was, use your magic kickball. Heather, you can save the day. Justify yourself being the main character in all this. Use your magic Franklin Richards kickball and create an alternate universe that holds Dino Charge. That's my new headcanon, is Dino Charge, their pocket universe is in Heather's magic kickball. So yeah, anyway, there's the summary of the episode with a bunch of me rambling on about random whatever. Only 3 veteran rangers show up. There's no real meaningful interaction between anybody. There's no information about what's going on in Miranoi, no new experiences the old rangers had, no information about building a new colony. It would have been nice if they mentioned Vulcan Phenomenus or something. It would have been nice to see the megaship. It would have been nice to see Alpha 6 again. Like, imagine if we got a scene of Leo, Kai, and Maya, not the other ones for some reason, though, coming back to Earth in the megaship, and Alpha 6 is like, oh, it's nice to be home again, or something. Something? Anything. So, oh yeah, and also, Captain Mitchell and Dr. Fairweather, they don't show up. I was thinking, instead of Heather's mother being the one who was captured by the bad guys, couldn't it have been Captain Mitchell or Dr. Fairweather? And we could have just cut Heather altogether. Cut Heather altogether. So, oh yeah, there's some interesting stuff on Ranger Wiki. Let's see, blah, 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 what did I... Oh yeah, there was a weird thing on Ranger Wiki. Though Trakeena is defeated for good in this episode, she appears in the video game Power Rangers Super Legends, which is non-canon to the series. So, something that's not canon doesn't follow canon? Thanks, Ranger Wiki. What would we do without you? And, let's see. Oh, then I just wrote a thing about the 13th floor thing. 13th floor. That doesn't make any sense. So yeah, there's Trakeena's Revenge Part 1. I rambled on for over a half hour about this episode. It's not the best of Lightspeed, but I can't really say it's, like, super bad or anything, because it's fine. It just wastes time. If this was just a normal Lightspeed episode, if the Lost Galaxy Rangers had nothing to do with anything, if Trakeena wasn't actually here, this would work fine as just a standalone episode with a one-off kid who gets a lot of attention for some reason. So yeah, there's my thoughts on this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. See ya.